What's going on, guys? My name is Azim Hongos. I'm a photographer and web video producer. In this video, let's talk about why Apple isn't as environmentally friendly as you think it is, and their ban on Amazon's third-party refurbishment stores, and why this is such a big deal. First and foremost, we know that their newest iPad Pro is made out of 100% recycled material, as well as their mothership being run on 100% renewable energy. If you're like me and you've owned an Apple product, you know that they cost an arm and a leg to repair. If not, the geniuses just tell you to be a genius and buy a new one. From my experiences, when I try to fix my MacBook popping noise, it would have cost $1,000 plus, and it would have just been another screen in the dump, as well as my previous MacBook, which would have also cost me $1,000 plus if I didn't have it under warranty and Apple didn't have so many claims against them because so many people were consuming that the screen was peeling off. The right to repair also became more involved throughout the research of this video, and I realized that this is so important for both consumers, the market, and the environment. So when I heard that Apple was hammering down on refurbished products on Amazon, this gave me the spark to create this video, and why the right to repair became a strong argument for this thesis. Now, those are just my experiences with facing Apple in terms of repair in their own stores. Let's also look into one of their most popular and expensive products, which is the Apple Airpods. Now, as you can see in the footage here by the popular iFixit YouTube channel,
the Airpods score, they got an abysmal 0 out of 10, meaning they're pretty much unrepairable, unrecyclable future e-waste. And here's why.
The Apple Airpods are giving a straight up 0 out of 10 in terms of their quality of repair, basically making them impossible to fix. Why is this relative? Because it is such a small product. However, it'll add up because 26 to 28 million of these units were sold just in 2018, and that eventually adds up to repairs and people throwing them away. Well, you might be screaming at the screen saying, well, Isaac, they refurbish them in store and then sell them and do an amazing job at repairing them. Well, that's what I saw too, until I saw one of Luis's videos where he looks at one of Apple's refurbished items. As you can see in this video here,
let's take a look at how Apple has refurbished some devices through their own extended warranty programs. Here's a 2011 MacBook Pro, repaired by Apple for the GPU replacement under their extended warranty program. Notice that the board has just a little bit of sunburn, where they kept it on the BGA rework station a little too long, or ramped up the temperature too high to get more machines done in a shorter period of time. When you do BGA rework, the board should not look like this. It should not be this glazed brown where you can clearly tell where the rework was done. This board is going to fail again several months after the customer got it back. Not reliable.
The repair was not properly done, leaving a mediocre job on some of the very important components which would eventually break down, and they would have to be fixed later on. Of course, this isn't a problem for Apple because they're going to be charging the consumer at the end of the day and making a profit. We have not only seen this with refurbished products and making the customer feel guilty, but also with their newest products and the butterfly keys, which stopped working after a few months. There has already been a lawsuit for this, but many people were complaining about it. And lastly, and probably their most damaging set of actions, which was throttling people's iPhones. When they throttled the iPhone, people thought that their phones were slow, therefore they had to get a new iPhone. Think about how many people threw away their iPhones and didn't properly take care of them to repair because they thought their iPhone was slow, and eventually led up to more pollution. Let's get to the meat of it all, and here are some of the most important facts that you should know. Apple get to pick and choose who their refurbished sellers are on Amazon. You are able to sell refurbished products, but you must purchase 10 million worth in Apple products, which means that 2.5 million every quarter, and you can come into play if you decide to become an authorized dealer. Apple is stating that they don't want any more refurbished products on Amazon because they want to control the quality of the product that the consumers get. However, you are already able to get a warranty with the A to Z fix by Amazon if a product doesn't work. This also leads to the repercussion, which means that many people will be booted out of the Amazon system. Not only that, but it becomes a pay-to-play system. We have already seen many complaints from business owners who say that the authorized dealers don't really get too much leverage, and instead they would be losing business. This essentially becomes, as I've stated many times, a pay-to-play system where two of the largest companies in the world are teaming up in order to hurt smaller shops. That's basically like Iron Man and Thanos going against Squirrel Girl. But one statement summarizes it best. Given Amazon's dominance as an online retail marketplace, its decision to disregard the first sale rights of resale will significantly limit consumer choice. The fact that this move was demanded by Apple makes it even more problematic. What we see here are the world's two most valuable companies engaging in a coordinated assault on the lawful resale of consumer devices. This shows us Apple's desire to control the life and death cycle of their product. We must ask ourselves and the big companies, are they really able to take on every single aspect of the life and death cycle? We have seen what they do with refurbished products and current products. Although this statement by Amazon and Apple have only been recently, there have already been speculations of their much needed walled garden being kept within that space. with both past and present protocols, software, and hardware. For example, the new introduction of the T2 chip brought in more security. However, the T2 chip is not just for security, but also a giant kill switch. Reading the following statement, for Macs with the Apple T2 chip, the repair process is not complete for certain part replacements until the AST2 system configuration 2 has been run. Failure to perform this step will result in operative system and an incomplete repair, meaning that in order to get anything repaired with a T2 chip, you must be connected into one of Apple's servers. And this is only given to authorized retail stores and authorized stores by Apple, which means that the average Joe will no longer be able to go inside their machine and repair it, which is already nearly impossible to either update, upgrade, or even be fixable. The T2 chip is not just for security, but makes it nearly impossible to fix any one computer. Of course, Apple is not just the only company that does this in order to make sure that their items are not repaired. We see this with companies like John Deere, who must implement a specific line of code for their products to be fixed, which makes it very difficult for third party and consumers to fix it themselves. At the end of the day, it's hurting the end user. Apple has also done this in the past, where Touch ID would not be functional unless it was an Apple authentic Touch ID, giving many people an error 53 message if they even attempted to replace a non-authorized Touch ID. Why I just said Touch ID so much. And this was all given in the name of security. However, there should be no compromise between security and flexibility for the user. At the end of the day, the consumer should be able to choose where and when they get their products fixed, and if they desire to fix it themselves. They did issue an apology and fix this error. This is only after many complaints and many hours of being hassled by the average consumer. We also saw this with 11.3 updates, where the screen, if it was replaced and it was not an authentic Apple screen, then the screen and the phone would be bricked, making it essentially impossible to use your phone. Again, Apple did issue an apology and said that third-party screens would be used. However, Apple did state that the screens used by third-party manufacturers would not work as accurately as the ones that they had in-house. So this brings me to my conclusion, which is the Right to Repair Act is so important to the consumer, the environment, and individuals, and why Apple and Amazon teaming up is just a horrible idea, because at the end of the day, this is only going to hurt small companies who are just trying to make a living out of it and taking on an aspect that Apple has failed to do, both time, money, and repair quality. Those were three things. I'm sorry, I can't count. We not only have to ask ourselves one really big question, but we must be responsible as well, because as consumers, we already have really bad habits with our things. We just throw them away and buy new products. And even if we recycle, we have to think of the recycling cycle, which also rhymes, as a different aspect. It's no longer just about recycling, it's also about repairing, refurbishing it, and giving it to another individual so we can stimulate the economy. Because I believe if this happens, then this will lead to a shrinking economy with less competition. And if you have ever gone to the Apple Genius store, you know this by experience. It takes hours, weeks sometimes for something that Steve Jobs imagined to be a really quick fix. But as purchasing from a company becomes larger and larger, it becomes harder and harder for quality control to be implemented. Which brings me to the ultimate conclusion, which is, can we really trust Apple to be environmentally responsible and focus on another aspect of the environment and another aspect of a company when we already see that they try to create waste and try to bring in more consumers via hardware and software protocols which create kill switches, error 53s, and throttling in order to bring in more green. I get it. They want to create a walled garden. I'm an Apple fanboy. I'm not afraid to admit it. I love the design and the software. But at the end of the day, I know that it's only idiots that want to build walls. And that's it. That's my conclusion. Those are my opinions. I will source down all the articles that I read in order to create this video essay. But I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Azim Hangos, and I'll catch you in the next one.